Hello and welcome to the Profitable Baker podcast, the show for bakers who mean business. I'm Annie Bennett, founder of the Home Baking Business Academy, and every week I'll be sharing practical lessons, mindset shifts, and inspiring stories from bakers who are building businesses they love. Because success in this industry isn't about who bakes the fanciest cakes, it's about who builds the strongest business foundations. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Profitable Baker podcast with me, Annie Bennett. Oh, I've got a fabulous episode today. I have got a wonderful guest with me. This lady is a cake business coach. She runs the Cake Business Club and she is also Delicious Magazine's Business Coach of the Year. Not that I'm at all jealous about that. I am just delighted to welcome the fabulous Kate Tynan to the podcast today. Hello, Kate.
Hi, Annie. Thank you so much for having me. It's a delight. And it was lovely to be a finalist with you, Annie, and everybody who was in that final deserved that award. So it was a great honour to get it.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
Bless you. Yes, so what I'd like to do for my listeners, I'm sure most of my listeners know who you are anyway, but for those that don't, could you just tell us about how you got to where you are? Tell us about your background and how you got to be doing what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I had my own cake business for 11 years, Little Button Bakery. I ended up being a wedding cake designer in the end. That's all I did for probably the last maybe 6-7 years of my business, if not a little bit longer. Obviously, COVID hit and destroyed that in 2020. And during that time, I ended up with lots of conversations with other cake designers, a lot of people who I felt were right at the top of the game, who were kind of coming to me for advice because I was quite visible during COVID. I got a lot of press for the wedding industry and the cake industry specifically. So I was on TV, I was in the radio, in print, and it kind of raised awareness of me and my business. So people coming to me asking me for advice. And I was like, oh, actually, maybe this is a thing, like perhaps giving advice to other cake business owners is something I could explore more of. So after COVID, things settled down a bit and I dabbled with the idea of potentially coaching other people. So set up a free community, grew that for a year before deciding to launch my membership, which was the Cake Business Club, and sold out all 50 founding member spaces for that in less than 24 hours, which was super exciting and amazing. I think because I built such a really strong community beforehand, it naturally transitioned into the club. I've been running that for 4 years this year. A year into running the Cake Business Club, I had to make the hard decision of, do I carry on running both businesses, giving 50% to both, or do I take the plunge and maybe see what lies ahead for the Cake Business Club? And it was really sad to close the doors on Little Button Bakery. And, it gave me a lot of joy over the years and worked with some amazing people. And I'd had my own cake studio, which was a massive dream. I literally got the keys to that just before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I had, I walked away from all of that. But I could just see that, there was just a lot of people that I hadn't even reached yet that I would be able to help. And also I'd found a new joy in helping other people with their cake businesses. So that's what I decided to do. So I shut the doors on Little Button Bakery and went full time then into running the membership, the Cake Business Club. And I now work with around 100 cake makers at the moment, mostly in the UK, but also around the world. And I also coach one-to-one as well. So I usually have about 10 one-to-one clients at once. So my days are filled now with helping other cake businesses and not being covered in flour.
It's funny, isn't it? Because a similar kind of journey, different background to you, but similar kind of journey. Wedding cake business, 2020 comes along. Oh, heck, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And of course, my journey was similar. Let's start up, training and things. And then, I decided to close the wedding cake business. Slightly different reasons, but we won't go into that now. But it's funny, isn't it? Because people say, well, do you miss wedding cake? Do you miss it? Do you miss it, Kate, making the wedding cake?
I miss the creative, that creativity, because I don't feel like I've found anything to fill that void. And I've always been a very creative person throughout I did like art GCSE, I did art at university to start with, and
Right.
I don't do that creative part anymore really than anything else. I need to find a new outlet for that. But I don't I don't miss like giving up my weekends and things
Mm.
like that. Like I missed a lot of time with my children when they were younger because I
Right.
was out delivering wedding cakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't miss the fact that I can't commit to family events and things
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know like that far ahead, or maybe, you know, people haven't told me about an event, I've already got work booked in. Like I don't miss that side of things. But you know, I did love my cake business. I
Yeah.
didn't close it because I didn't love it. It was just a new time for a new direction for me. But yeah, I miss some of it, but not all of
All of it,
it.
yeah, because that time restraint is key, isn't it? Because I'm sure you have a lot of bakers who've set up because they want the freedom of being self-employed.
Yeah.
They might have come away from a career that didn't suit them, or in
Mhm.
my case, my 30-year teaching career made me ill, so that's why I stepped away from that. But then they're finding that actually, no, I don't have my weekends because markets or weddings or whatever. But it's, a case of looking at your business and working out how your business can suit your life. I was saying this to
Absolutely.
Jenny the other
Yeah.
day, how your business can suit your life, not the other way around. Do you
Yeah.
do you think that
Totally.
too? Yeah.
And even as a wedding cake designer, like this is probably a terrible business decision, but I used to take all summer holidays off, bar 2 weeks, even though it was the busiest time of year for weddings, because I knew it was just sacrificing my children
Mm.
and I would end up having to put them in holiday clubs or try to find other people to look after them. And when they were little, you know, I set up my business to be able to have a flexible business around my
Mm.
family, and I didn't want to necessarily miss all of that time. So I took pretty much every school holiday off. I wouldn't book
Fantastic.
any cakes in my diary until I knew when the school holidays were. So
Mm.
if people are asked for cakes in advance, I'd pencil them in, but I'd say I can't confirm 100%
Mm.
until I know when if that's going to be half term or not. So yeah, I think it's hard to do that, and I think a lot of people worry that, you know, they're not going to have enough orders if they don't do that. And but I think you've got to find what works for you and also remember your why. Why did you set up the business in the first place? Is
Yeah.
it because you wanted to have a more flexible life and be there for your children and be around your children and be able to do things with them? If it was, and then you spend all your time working, you need to go back to that why and reassess
Yeah.
and like try to come back to that and maybe tweak things and change it so it fits better.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you've worked with Lisa Johnson as well, haven't you?
Mm.
We
Yeah,
both
yeah.
did the course, didn't we? And her way of planning is, long-term planning is doing it backwards. What do you want? And then sort of going backwards and then planning out perhaps your year to say, well, I don't want to work then. So how am I going to make up that income elsewhere? And
Yeah.
it's really a long-term strategy thing, isn't it? Do you think too many bakers, and cake makers might think short-term, knee-jerk a little bit
Oh,
too much?
100%. A lot of them don't have any kind of plan or
Mhm.
vision, or even when like you're just saying then about working backwards,
Mm.
that's how I would teach like
Yeah,
pricing a lot of the time. Like, what do you want from your business? How busy, how many cakes do you want to make? How many weeks do you want to have off? What can we fit in? Okay,
yeah.
now we can work backwards and see, does your pricing align with that vision you have for your financial future? And often the answer to that is no.
No,
So, you
absolutely.
know, and I think a lot of cake designers are maybe sometimes wary of bringing in other things to their business to help
Yeah,
like um, fill those gaps. Because sometimes, particularly if you're a wedding cake designer, it can be quite seasonal work.
yeah,
You know, yes, you do get people getting married across the whole year, but there are definitely busier times of the
yeah,
year. So it's about stepping outside of that sometimes and thinking, okay, well, what else can I do to, bring in some extra income? Like, for example, in my cake business, and had COVID not actually happened, I wouldn't be doing what I do now, I'm sure. I would still be
mm,
making my cakes. But I was building my business up to a point where almost half the year would be on weddings and half the year would be on teaching or facilitating
okay.
classes with other people.
Mm,
So I used to have guest tutors come and teach. So I had like
mm,
Dominique from Poppy Pickering and Isabel from Designer Cake Company and Emily Hankins all lined up
mm,
to come and teach classes. So that was the way my business was going. And, I think people sometimes put themselves in a box and they're worried about stepping
Yeah.
outside of that box. But actually, particularly if you're just a celebration cake maker, if that's all you're making in your business, it's quite hard to reach financial goals that you might have for yourself
Yeah.
purely with celebration cakes, because there's a limit to how many cakes one person can make. Um,
Absolutely.
and there's a
Yeah.
limit to what you can charge really for a celebration cake. There's always going to be a ceiling there depending what you do, but it's also, you have to do more volume to make the same amount of
Mm.
cakes as you would do as for a wedding cake. I was only making 1 or 2 cakes a week really.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe somebody who's just making celebration cakes might have been having to make 5, 6, 7, 8 cakes to make
Yeah.
that same amount of revenue. So
Yeah.
it's wedding cakes aren't for everybody. I get it, but you've got to
No.
kind of think of the business as a whole and what else you can bring into it.
Yeah,
To,
yeah, because it's important to niche. Say, I was talking to Jenny Gilson,
yeah,
and we were agreeing that yes, you've got to niche. You can't be doing, all cakes, everything. I can do anything you ask me, because that doesn't, A, it doesn't help your sanity, does it? And
yeah,
B, it doesn't help you get established. You need to be known as the something
yeah.
person, don't you?
You can do that. You can do
Yeah,
everything, but then you are being everything to everyone, and actually, then often it ends up you being nothing to no one.
exactly,
And
exactly.
if you're like, you've got to think about a fish in a pond. If there's loads of competition around you, other cake makers, and they're all doing everything for everyone, it just then comes down to who's the cheapest, and
Yeah.
that's who the customers book with. Whereas if you can find something that stands you out from the competition, maybe that's the style of cakes you make. I'm just going to pull like Charlotte from Perfect Cake Co as an
Mm.
example. Like, she's a specialist painted cake designer,
Yeah.
and there's very few people in the UK who can make a painted cake to the standard of Charlotte. So if you wanted that style of cake, that's your go-to person
Yeah.
in the most part to get that cake from. So she's not going to get someone coming to her asking for, a sculpted teddy bear cake, because
Yeah.
that's not what she does.
Exactly.
And I think it's about really defining what you want to do, or understanding if you don't want to have a niche, then it's probably going to be more difficult for you to build
Yes.
your business, and to command prices that fully represent the work that goes into a cake, because you are competing with so many other people who
Yeah.
don't have an understanding of what they should be pricing things at.
Yeah. If you can get to a point where people look at your work and go, that is exactly what I want, and I don't want anyone else to do it,
Yeah,
then you can
100%.
charge. I mean, I'm not saying hike the price just because, but you can
Yeah,
charge a premium because you are the only one that does that.
absolutely. And it's also about establishing your place in the market.
Yeah.
So whether that's, winning awards that put you as the go-to cake maker in your area, whether it's featuring in, magazines or blogs, and you've got a
Mm.
lot of like, attention on you from lots of different places. It's getting people to notice you. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
what can you do to get people to notice you as a cake business? And maybe that is the style of cakes that you make. It could also be the whole way your business is represented. Like, it might
Mm.
just be something really fun. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Rude Cookies. They're a cookie business. I think
Yes. Yeah.
they make rude cookies, like,
Yeah.
obviously. But they're making royal iced cookies, and they've developed this specific niche for themselves. Are they for everybody? No, they're absolutely not. Like, there's no way my mum would ever order one of
Yeah.
those
Yeah. Yeah.
cookies.
Yeah.
But they're for a lot of people, and they've developed this business now, which they're the go-to people for that style of
Yeah.
cookie, similar to Charlotte with her cakes. So
Yeah.
it's about finding, I guess, what sets you apart from other people. And it could be the level of service you offer, it could be your whole business as a whole, it could be how visible you are,
Yeah.
how well regarded you are. And it could be, that you are making a specific style of cake, and that's what you become known for. But I think a lot of people just try and be a fish in the big pond,
Yeah.
and they don't want to be, the swan on top of the pond floating along, who's like
Yeah.
everyone can see
Yeah.
them gracefully floating by. Everyone notices the swan. Nobody sees the fish in the pond.
Yeah.
So be the swan, not the fish.
Be the swan. Well, it's true, isn't it? I mean, I often said to, particularly my big Facebook group that I've now closed. I know you've closed your Facebook group too, but I'd often say, be the leader. Don't be the follower. Be the leader.
Yeah,
Don't jump on the bandwagon and do bro nuts just because everyone else seems to be doing them and seems to be making some money.
yeah,
Get your own thing that everyone else wants to copy because you're the original like that.
Yeah. And don't
Yeah.
be afraid to say no as well. You know, if you
Yes.
don't want to do something, like I was very much known for say no to ruffles. In fact, I even had a hashtag at one point,
Ruffles.
which was say no, hashtag say no to ruffles. And it was a running joke like in my business. And I ruffled some feathers, I'm not gonna lie. Some cake businesses got annoyed with me because I was saying I don't like ruffles. But couples came to me, and often on their consultation form, when I asked what they don't want on their cake, they said ruffles. Like, I don't, we definitely don't want ruffles, because it's like, we know you don't like ruffles. Yes, I made ruffle cakes in my time
Yeah.
before I decided that's not the route I wanted to go down. We're all going to dabble with different things. But, you know, I said no to ruffles. I didn't make sugar flowers in the end. You know, I was more
Mm,
about textural cakes and colours and the height of my cakes and things like that. But
mm.
it's it does take time to find what you actually want
Yeah.
to be known for. You can't, unless you really do a lot of groundwork at the beginning. And like I've got a client, I don't know if you've heard of Katerina from Flock Bakes.
Mm,
She's now kind of gone a little bit more into cookies rather than cakes. But she came to me when she first started, wanted to start her business. But she had a very set idea. She came from an architecture background.
mm.
She had a very set idea of how she wanted her cakes to look, taste, and very different from what else was out there. So it's not to say you can't decide before you begin. You can, you just have to put more legwork in to
Yeah.
actually get those building blocks in place before you launch. And I think a lot of people don't do that. They just launch and then try to find their feet.
Yeah.
Whereas if you maybe took a little bit more time beforehand, thinking about where can you fit in the market in your
Yeah.
area, what's missing, what could make you stand out, what's different to what else is out there, then you're probably going to have a better success rate when you launch than just trying to find your feet and taking years to decide what you actually want to be known for.
Yeah, that's so true. But also, I'd add into that finding something that you love to do,
Yeah,
because there's no point in having a niche if you think, oh, I've got to make some of these today. And I'm making them because there's a gap in the market, but I'm really not that. You've
yeah,
got to have something that
yeah.
you get up on a Monday
Or
morning and think,
if you
woohoo.
do want to do that, and you're like, you know, maybe you need money, that's okay, but just
Yeah.
don't share it.
Yeah.
I think we feel like we've got to share everything and
Yeah.
actually only share the things you want to make and you want to do more of. If you
Yes.
made something and you hate it and you think, oh my God, I never want to do that cake again,
Mm.
don't share it.
Yeah,
You know, you've got
absolutely.
no obligation to a customer to
Yeah.
share your work. If
Yeah.
you didn't want to do it again, just don't, because people will
Yeah.
ask what they see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I did quite a few cakes that never got to my website or anything like that, mainly because I wanted to be niching as the wedding cake, the three-tiered white sugar flowers.
yeah,
So, all the little birthday cake, the frozen birthday cakes and that I occasionally did. I thought,
yeah.
well, I'm not going to put them up because I don't want people to know that I do them. I only did those for previous customers, kind of,
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I mean, I
Um,
was a wedding cake maker. That's all I marketed myself at.
mm,
But I did do the odd celebration cake, often for past customers.
yes,
So
yeah,
clients who had made wedding cakes for maybe
yeah,
wanted a christening cake or a
yeah,
birthday cake. And yes, I would do those. And I might, you know, they were still very much in keeping with my style. So I may have shared them on my stories, but I probably wouldn't have put them on my like
mhm.
main grid in the
No,
most part because I didn't want people to start coming to me asking me for celebration cakes. I
yeah.
wanted to just be a wedding cake
Yeah,
with my
and
content.
that's a bit of messaging, isn't it? What you put out and
Yeah.
how you market yourself and how you make, what you allow people to see
Mhm.
is important to what it is you want to actually do, isn't it? But there's
Absolutely.
also the thing about niching in terms of, I'm sure we both know loads of wedding cake people who only do buttercream,
Yeah.
and other people that only do the sugar paste.
Hmm.
Um, But wouldn't you say it's a question of you've got to have those other skills. So you've got to be able to do the buttercream, but then choose, actually, I prefer to do sugar paste. So
I don't
it's,
know. That's
I don't
such a good
know.
one, that Annie. I think if you know, if you knew like going into it, that's all you wanted to create. So, for example, again, I've got another client, Amelia from the Cake Hunt. She just uses Swiss meringue buttercream on her cake. She does kind
Uh-huh.
of like Lambeth style cakes. I can't see her ever making a fondant cake.
Right.
I don't know if she's, I don't know if she's ever made a fondant cake, to be honest. She may
She
have done.
probably doesn't need to, does she? Because she's
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
enough of what she does.
It's almost like saying, well, as a cake designer, you need to learn to pipe with royal icing, you need to learn to make sugar flowers, you need to work with buttercream, you need to work with ganache, you need to work with fondant. Do you? I don't know if you do. I don't know if I would
I
agree that
think
you do
I
there.
think the reason I said that is that I've come across so many over the last few years who said, "Oh, I can never, I don't do buttercream because I can never make it work. I can never make it smooth, so I just don't do it."
Yeah,
And there's a difference, isn't there, between trying something a couple of times and failing at it and thinking, "Oh, I'm no good at that,"
yeah,
to doing something or not at all. Say, no, I don't want to go anywhere near buttercream. I only want to do sugar paste, and I'm going to be absolutely A1, get my skills up on that. There is a difference, isn't there? So it's a case of, have I got the resilience? And this is a business skill, isn't it? Have I got the resilience and the perseverance to actually carry something through that I want to do and
rather than
make it?
jumping from one thing to the next almost.
Yeah, yeah. And there
Seeing
is
what
that, isn't
sticks.
there? Yeah, bro nuts. Do you remember bro nuts? I was
Like a
talking to
brownie
Jenny about,
donut.
yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, now it's dot cakes, isn't it? That's what people are talking about at
Don't
this
even
point.
really know what they are. They just look like a cupcake stuck in a pot with a
Yeah,
little
they're with little
smushed on
sprinkles
it
on
and
the top. Yeah,
sprinkles.
but it's funny, isn't it? How trends go. And again,
Yeah,
it's to do with perhaps jumping on the bandwagon a little bit. Oh, everyone else seems to be doing these, so I must do them.
yeah. It's
No,
a
you
bit like
don't.
social media though as well. Like the thing at the moment is the Yap challenge. Like that's all over social media. There's a lady in America who's launched this challenge and everyone's on the bandwagon with it. So there's all this yapping going on Instagram, like unpolished, like just talk to camera kind of stuff.
Right.
And I think for that's not necessarily right for everybody,
No.
but just because you see it doesn't mean you have to do it.
Yeah.
So it's about deciding, does it fit into your business
Yeah.
and how do you want your business to come across, online?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
yeah, I
Mm.
think just not just doing everything for the sake of it,
Yeah.
um,
Dancing.
seeing
Yeah.
what actually you want to do. And like I said before, saying don't be afraid to say no. Like no can be the most powerful word when you're running a
Absolutely.
cake business, because often that little no word opens doors to much bigger yeses. Because if
Yeah.
you said yes when you should have said no, I guarantee that a better opportunity will come along that then you can't say yes to
Yeah.
because you've said no to the thing you didn't really want to do in the first place.
Absolutely. Top tip there from Kate. Listen, everybody.
Yeah. I'm full of those, Annie, full of top tips.
What would you say is the most, so someone's starting up a cake business. So talk about me 12 years ago when I left teaching, thought, right, what do I want to do? I want to set up a cake business. What do you think is the most important thing for someone to do or learn or have in place before they start trading, for example?
It's a bit like how long's a piece of string? There's so
Yeah.
many things. I'm not sure there is just one thing. I think probably if I had to pick two things, like
Mm.
I'm gonna pick two, but like one thing
Okay.
more from a business point of view, one thing more from a cake point of view. So the cake point of view is get your skills to a point where you think they are good enough to sell
Yeah.
and that they are polished, that you can do a cake with straight sides, that the finish is clean, it's not lumpy and bumpy.
Mm.
You can cut out lettering neatly and it's, all of that. Because I see a lot of cake makers now, and I'm not, everyone's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
My first cakes, oh my God,
Yeah.
horrific. Like I thought they were amazing, they were terrible. But I think you've got to look at it and think, okay, is that, if I'm going to rate that out of 10, how much am I going to give it? And if you're only giving it like a 3 or a 4, it's
Mm.
probably not time to sell your cakes yet. You want to be at a 7 or an 8 really before you start
Yeah.
selling, and you'll get to a 10 with practice.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't be selling when you're only a 3 out of 10. You should
Yes.
be selling maybe when you get to 7 or 8 out of 10. And I think a lot of people jump in too soon
Yeah.
before they've got the skills to actually sell the cakes, and then they're stuck in that cycle of low pricing because the
Mm.
cakes aren't good enough to charge those higher prices,
Yeah.
and the skills soon develop, but then the pricing stuck. So I
Yeah.
think that's, from a cake point of view, I would say the skills, get the skills right. I'm not saying you're going to be perfect when you start selling, you're not, but you
Mm.
need to be at a point where I feel like straight sides, neat finish is a
Yeah.
non-negotiable when you're selling a cake.
Yeah.
Um, and then the thing from a business point of view is pricing.
Yeah.
Like understand what actually goes into pricing a cake. It's a lot more than you actually think.
Mm.
I've recently built a cake pricing calculator, which is free, which literally walks people through the steps of pricing a cake and gives them a price at the bottom of what they should be charging for
Mhm.
that cake to hit the profit, to make sure they're charging what they should be charging for the time and also cover the business costs and everything like
Yeah.
that. But I think a lot of people almost, they follow weird strategies like, oh, it's cost of ingredients times
Oh,
4,
yes.
or it's, you know, just literally ingredients plus time.
Yeah.
That's the price. And I'm only
Yeah.
going to charge minimum wage for my time because that's all it's worth now. I'm just starting
Mm,
out. And you're not really making anything there. You're not making any
mm,
profit for your business. You've got no room for your business to grow. You've got no, like, you know,
mm,
little pot of money sat there that you can use to develop your skills, grow your
mm.
business. And, you know, I think that that is probably the biggest mistake I see in the cake industry. And it's still very apparent, like this, even Facebook groups set up just for cake pricing.
Mm.
I actually made a reel about this yesterday, about taking advice from strangers on the internet.
Yeah.
There's so many people that ask in these Facebook groups, how much should I charge for this cake? And people are giving all the prices,
Yeah.
you know, are so different. And then they're taking that advice and running with it, but they know nothing about that
No.
person that's given them the advice. They don't know where that person's based, what the standard of their cakes are, what their business is like, what their business costs are, what kind of market they're trying to position themselves in. It's just almost like, I wish that those Facebook groups for pricing would just close. I actually got
Close.
thrown out of one once because I like shared something about it, and like,
You know, I remember that.
yeah,
Yes.
I got ejected from my cake pricing Facebook group. I literally shared a picture of a cake that appeared in the group. I didn't share any screenshots from the
No,
group.
no.
I talked
No,
about
you
it.
were very
Like,
diplomatic, but they weren't very
they
happy.
didn't like me. They threw me out. But I think that's the problem. And actually,
Mm.
the worst offenders of pricing are the ones that don't want to listen. They think they
Yeah.
know best, and
Yeah.
actually, they don't. Like, the pricing I see from some people is absolutely
Yeah.
horrific. And it just makes me sad inside that people value themselves so little.
Yeah.
And almost they feel like they can't charge for their time, and they're
Mm,
not worthy of charging that, and no one will pay that. And
mm,
we often put ourselves in the shoes of our customers and think, well, nobody would pay that because I wouldn't pay it. But
mm.
most of the time, we're not our ideal client.
No,
So
no.
I think pricing, almost, I wish there was like a benchmark for pricing, or like a minimum fee that everyone in
Yeah.
the industry should be charging for cakes. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I still,
Yeah.
and today I found I pulled some old invoices off my business from 2013. I haven't got ones from the very, very, like, my starting days, and I've shared it as a reel today, but I was charging ridiculous prices
Oh,
at
me
the
too.
beginning,
Yeah.
like 20 quid for 8 cupcakes, 65 quid for a carved sofa cake with a model of a person on the top.
Yeah.
It's like, and again,
Yeah.
I was doing everything. I was trying to be everything to everyone and
Mm-hmm.
knowing what I was doing. And
Mm-hmm.
I made all the mistakes I'm talking about today
Oh,
myself.
me too.
Like,
Me
you
too.
know,
Yeah.
and I wish I'd had a coach, someone to guide me in the beginning, because I would have not made all of those rubbish mistakes, and I probably would have actually been a better business earlier on than spending years trying
Yeah.
to figure it all out on my own, and then, you know, probably costing myself a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of stress that I didn't need to charge. So it's a constant battle, Annie, the pricing,
It is.
that I continually to beat my drum on,
Yeah.
and run
Oh, me too.
pricing masterclasses and
Me too.
give free tools. I mean, yeah, it's one of those, but it's, as new cake makers come to the market, I guess it's just about educating them,
It
but
is.
also ensuring that people aren't giving really bad advice on Facebook groups. And I think if you are one of those people who's checking your prices on a Facebook group, you need to not do that anymore. Like, you're not helping yourself. Uh,
Absolutely. I mean, in my Facebook group, I let it go for a year or so before I'd really, got my own self established. But I stopped it. I said, no, you can't ask for pricing. And
yeah.
after a while, the other members, if one did slip through before I'd seen it and removed it, the other member would say, you've got to work out your own costs. So my message was getting through to some of them.
The
You've got to
thing,
work
I
it
just
out.
think people think, oh, I can't be bothered to do that. And
Yeah,
to be honest, when I worked out my price in the beginning, it took me such a long time to work
yeah,
out all my costs. It took me hours and hours and hours and hours to work it out. But it's probably the most important thing
yeah,
before you set up a business, because if you don't know what things cost you, or how much each recipe that you're going to offer for
yeah.
sale actually costs you in all the different sizes you offer it, you're literally just plucking a figure out of thin air as to what you
How
should
can
charge for
you,
a cake.
as we all say, how can you run a business and know you're making a profit if you don't know what it's costing you?
Yeah,
It's
100%.
it's
Yeah.
madness, Kate, isn't it? It's
Madness.
madness.
It's madness, Anna, yeah.
Because I know that all most of us business coaches, at least the ones that I know and speak to, we all have this sort of pricing, pricing, pricing. It's you've got to know your pricing. You've got to know your numbers. You can't just, oh, what, add a fiver for overheads. You can't do that. You've got to calculate them, haven't you? You've got to
Yeah.
know.
And I know that's harder in the beginning because you don't
Yeah,
necessarily know what your overheads are going to be until you
yeah,
start out, but you can at least take a best guess at that
yeah,
and then, average it out over what you think you're going to be making, or
yeah,
what
yeah,
your capacity is for the year. Because in the early days, you're maybe not going to be as busy as you're going to be as you get established. So you
yeah,
can't then think, oh, well, I'm going to make 5K, so I'm charging my whole business overheads to five
yeah,
customers. Like, that's not going to work.
yeah,
You've got to think about
yeah,
what your capacity should be, and then
yeah,
work it out like that. And yes, you're probably not going to make as much money in the early days, and you're going to be covering a lot of your business costs yourself. But then as you get established, your business costs should be covered by the prices of your cakes.
yeah,
They should be
absolutely.
feeding that
And
in.
pricing for, because I'm always saying this, that I think a mistake that a lot of new bakers make is that they think that everyone wants the cheapest cake. And not all customers want the cheapest, do they?
No, no, absolutely not.
They don't. They want, as we said, earlier, it just takes someone to look at your website and go, that is exactly what I want, and I'm willing to pay whatever it takes to get that.
Yeah. You need to
And
get yourself to a point where people are happy to book in with you and pay the deposit without really any kind of back and
yeah,
forth about it. They're just like, right, I want to secure you for this date.
yeah,
Like, you're the one for me. Like, bam, here's the deposit paid.
yeah,
Right, we'll finalize the design nearer the time. Once you get to that point, I'd say your business is doing pretty
yeah,
well. Establish yourself as an expert in your area and the go-to cake person for people
yeah,
to
yeah.
work with.
And partly that is a visibility strategy that's not just Facebook community groups, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I mean, that's kind of where, if you want to find the bargain hunters, that's where to
Yeah,
go and hang out. Yeah, it's not. And also just running your business off social media as a whole. Like, again, I work with so many cake makers who that's what their strategy is.
yeah,
You know, you're just reducing that fish in the pond thing. You're making your pond even
yeah,
smaller because people don't see you on Google, particularly for a wedding cake designer. If you're going to look for a wedding cake, where are you going to look? Facebook or Google? Like, you're going to look on Google. And if
yeah.
you're not on Google, it's hard. And actually, with the AI coming along now,
Mm,
AI is now throwing people do use AI like a search engine. So if you don't have Google, if you're not on Google, you haven't got a website, you're not going to show up in AI searches
yeah,
either. So
yeah,
it's going to hinder your business doing that. So I think it's about having very different marketing channels to make sure you're visible across lots of different touch points, not just putting all of your eggs in one basket, and not putting all of your eggs in a basket that isn't even owned by you. It's somebody else's
yes,
basket. They
yes,
might walk off with that basket of eggs at any point.
yeah,
People
yeah,
post their accounts on Instagram and Facebook, and then if they haven't got a backup, they've not got a website, they've not got a mailing list. They literally don't exist then. Once the accounts have been
yeah,
hacked or whatever, it's gone. And
yeah,
having to start that business from
yeah. I'm
scratch again.
always saying that. I mean, one of my bugbears is seeing a cake person, and this is just me personally. If I see DM me to order, it gives me the ick.
Yeah. Or
Say,
WhatsApp, that
why
gives
are
me the
you?
ick.
Yeah, you should be straight onto the email. You should
Yeah,
be, you know,
absolutely.
email. It should be the way, because the number of times I've seen messages. Oh, my Facebook's gone down. If you've ordered a cake from me next week, can you let me know? What?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
How
not it's
can
not
you run a
it's about
business?
like looking as professional as you possibly can.
Yes.
Like, at every single touch point, be professional. Okay, don't
Yeah.
have a sweetcakes@hotmail.com email
Yeah.
address. Have a proper business email address. It costs like £6 a month with
Yeah.
Google Business Suite. Don't run your business off WhatsApp, because people talk to you on WhatsApp very differently to how they would talk to
Yes.
you on an email. They
Yeah.
just it's more seen as a way of communicating with your friends and family, and you'll
Yeah.
get like single like words written in text speak, like not an actual conversation.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I
And
think,
it's the fine line, isn't it, between a customer and a friend? If you start the whole DMing and WhatsApping, people think that you're a chum. And
yeah,
oh, can you just do it at this, or just can you just give me a discount for that?
and it's much harder to enforce boundaries when you do that as well, because people can see when you were last online, they can see when you've read the message, and then they'll start hounding you at times when you're not actually in work. So
Yeah.
it's very much about boundaries. Like, even with email, I tell my clients, if you even if you are doing admin in an evening, schedule that email to go out the next morning
Yeah.
at like 9 a.m. because you don't want a client to think you're messaging them at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And then they think, oh, that's okay for me to message them at 10
Yes.
o'clock at night. And we can, they're doing the business then. And then they'll be like, well, why haven't you replied to me on a Sunday?
Yeah.
I've been chasing you. So I think it's just about establishing your own boundaries and working out how that fits into that. And for me, DMs, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger doesn't fit nicely into
No, it
boundaries.
doesn't. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, this has been such a lovely chat. We need to, oh, look at the time already. Just one last thing. What would you say is the thing that cake makers need to now be aware of for the future? Let's look ahead for a bit. What do you think might be coming up or happening that cake makers, bakers, whatever we want to call them, just need to be aware of?
Gosh, I think kind of pretty much some of the things we've talked about, really, like AI, just making sure that you are a business that will be found by AI searches, because soon I think AI searches will probably take over from Google because it gives you a lot more information. And even Google's got AI search now.
Yes, it has. Yeah.
Try asking Google which cake businesses you'd recommend in your area and see if you come up. If you don't, then you need to work on that.
Need to work on it. Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's probably something to just be aware of. Apparently, there's a change coming in regarding commercial waste disposal next March, which might affect cake businesses. It was something the government brought in last year for bigger businesses, and they're rolling it out to micro businesses from March 27. Businesses with 10 employees or under, where you have to have a commercial waste agreement. So where you have to separate all your different waste and have it collected by a commercial company, not just put it in your own bins. So I would say it's a bit woolly at the moment, the guidance on that. I'd say it's something you potentially need to discuss with your environmental health officer. So if you've got an inspection coming up this year, talk to them about it then, or reach out to them and open the conversation yourself. Similar to all of this uproar around cake sheds and street trading licenses, the onus is on you to make sure that you are actually doing what you should be doing in your business. Yes. So you need to check with your council where the land lies with that. So that's something to be aware of, sure. That I've kind of only found out about myself recently, but we were talking about it in my membership and kind of how it might affect people. Yeah. Hopefully it won't affect small home businesses because of the amount of waste a cake business produces is so tiny, but it may do. So just be armed with that information, really, because apparently it's coming in at the end of March next year.
Yeah, but it's important, isn't it? And I'm sure you found this too. The second, third, fourth hand information that can go around cake, particularly Facebook groups, when someone asks a question and someone says, "Oh yes, I know the answer to that," and actually it's not true. And
no,
so
absolutely.
it's important, isn't it, to find the source of, if you're talking about waste disposal, go to the your council.
The source. Yeah, absolutely, because it might be different for every council.
Exactly.
Same with the street trading licenses. Not every council is singing from the same hymn book.
Yes.
So
yeah,
check with your own, but you need to do your own due diligence in your business to make sure you're ticking all of the boxes. One more thing that is coming in, I've just remembered, which is in 3 days' time, actually. There's a change to GDPR in terms of privacy policies.
Right.
Where you have to have a way of people to complain about the use of their data in your privacy policy. So if you've got a privacy policy on your website, you also need to check that as well and just make sure it is in accordance with this.
In accordance, yeah.
So use ChatGPT if you're not sure. Ask it to help you draft out a privacy policy, including all of the things that.
Yeah, you should have a privacy policy on your website. If you haven't, make sure you've got one.
Yeah, well, this is a new addition to that about how customers can complain about the use of their data. So it's another specific.
What joy, isn't it?
Another
joyful
joy. Yeah, the joy. There's all these things that come out, and a lot of the things you hear about don't really make a huge amount of sense. Like the street trading licenses. Like I just think that's a way of councils trying to just get more money out of people. Like how can you say someone's got to have a street trading license from their own driveway?
I know.
Crazy, and the prices of them like vary so much. It's just
absolutely. And I sort of briefly looked up the regs, and if you're in London, it's one set of regs, and if you're elsewhere, and it's something to do with how many meters you are from the pavement, and
everyone's different. The same with environmental health, so which also grinds grinds my cogs of my brain. Like, not all environmental health officers sing from the same hymn book. They all have different things they want you to do. So you need to check yourself. Like, you're running a business, you need to check in your local area what the rules are for you to trade, and just make sure that you are doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, so that you don't get slapped on the wrist or you find yourself with a fine, or
Yeah, because that's tough, isn't it, if that happens.
yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Kate, so much. Now, if people want to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
So you can find all the information about everything I do on my website, which is thecakebusinessclub.co.uk. And the platform I'm most active on is Instagram. So please do follow me there. It's just at the Cake Business Club. I share lots of helpful tips and advice on there, with a bit of humour sprinkled in.
You talked earlier about not being creative, but your Insta is so creative.
Yeah, maybe that's where I put my creative energy now.
The little Lego figures, Wendy, is it? And
yeah, Wendy and Carol, yeah. And I've got a little like cupcake microphone now that I
that's it.
the other day. So yeah, there you go. I am being creative still, different ways. I've got a great prop box for reels.
Fantastic. Well, what I'll do is I'll ask you for sort of links and details and a bit of a bio for the show notes, so I can put all that in there. So if you want to know about Kate, have a look in the show notes and the links will all be there. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a lovely time.
It's been a pleasure. I've loved it. Thank you, Annie.
And yeah, I'm sure we'll see each other at some point in the future with various projects that are going on, and possibly Cake International, anywhere like that. We'll be seeing each other. So thank you, Kate Tynan. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Annie.